the middle of the forest with his two children, Hansel and Gretel. His second wife often ill-treated the children and forever nagged the woodcutter. "There's not enough food for us all! There are too many mouths to feed! We must get rid of the two brats!" she declared when she tried to persuade her husband to abandon his children in the forest. "Let's send them miles away so they'll never find their way back. Maybe someone will find them and give them a home," she said. The woodcutter didn't know what to do. Hansel, who one evening overheard his parents' conversation, comforted Gretel. "Don't worry, even if they leave us in the forest, we'll find our way back." Then, when Gretel was asleep, he went out of the house to gather pebbles and stuffed them in his pockets and went back to bed. The next day, when dawn came, the woodcutter led his children out into the forest. And as Hansel went deeper and deeper into the forest, he dropped a little white pebble here and there on the mossy green ground. At a certain point, the children found that they were all alone. When night fell, their father still had not returned for them. Gretel began to sob bitterly. Hansel too was scared, but he tried to hide his feelings to comfort his sister. "Don't worry, we'll find our way back even if father doesn't return for us." Luckily, the moon was full that night. "Now, give me your hand," Hansel said. "We'll find our way back safely, you'll see." The two children followed the path of the pebbles and found their way home safely. They crept through a half-open window without waking their parents. Cold, tired, but thankful to be home again, they slipped into bed. The next day, when the stepmother had found out that Hansel and Gretel had returned, she went to rage. Controlling her anger in front of the children, she locked her bedroom door, click, 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 reproaching her husband for failing to carry out her orders. The weak woodcutter protested, but tore between shame as he was between fear and shame as he was for disobeying his cruel wife. All night, the husband and wife quarreled, and when dawn came, the woodcutter led his two children out into the forest. Again,
no more.
Hansel, however, had not eaten his bread that his mother had given him. Instead, he dropped crumbs of the bread behind him to mark the path. Again, with a lame excuse, the woodcutter had left his two children by themselves. "I've left a trail, like last time," Hansel whispered to Gretel. The two children wanted to follow the path of the pebbles, but to their horror, they saw that all the crumbs were gone. "I'm frightened," wept Gretel bitterly. "I'm tired, hungry, and I want to go home." "Don't worry, I'm here to look after you," Hansel said, but he too trembled with fear as he glimpsed at the frightening shadows and evil eyes around him. The two children huddled together for warmth for the night, and when dawn broke, they wandered around the forest seeking a path. All hope seemed to have faded, but they walked and walked until they came to a strange cottage in the middle of the open space. "This is chocolate," said Hansel as he tried a bit of the wall. And this is icing, said Gretel as she tried another piece of the wall. She had never tasted anything so delicious. Starving but delighted, the children started eating pieces of candy broken off the cottage. Isn't this delicious? Said Gretel. Let's stay here, declared Hansel. When the children were just about to try a piece of the biscuit door, it quietly swung open. Well, an old lady said, oh, you children have a sweet tooth. Come in, nothing to fear. Unluckily for Hansel and Gretel, the sugar candy cottage belonged to an old witch, her trap for catching unwary victims. Hansel and Gretel had gone to a very nasty place. You're nothing but skin and bones, the witch said as she locked Hansel into a cage. Click, click, click. I shall fatten you up, then eat you. You can do the housework, she told Gretel grimly. Then I'll cook you and eat you up too. Every day, the witch will ask Hansel to put her finger out. And every day, Hansel would stick out a tiny bone, and the witch would think it was his finger, because the witch had terrible eyesight. And when Gretel smeared butter on her glasses, she could see even less. One day, the witch grew impatient and decided to cook Hansel that day. Light the oven, she told Gretel. We're going to have a tasty roasted boy today. After a while, hungry and impatient, she continued, Check the heat. And when Gretel returned after checking the heat, she whispered, I can't tell if it's hot enough. Angrily, the witch yelled at the little girl, Useless child! All right, I'll do it myself. As the witch bent down to hear if the water was hot enough, Gretel gave a great push and slammed the oven door shut. She ran to set her brother free, and the two children stayed for several more days to eat more pieces of the house, till they discovered that amongst the witch belongings were a huge chocolate egg, and laid a basket filled with gold coins inside. Let's take this treasure with us, because the witch has been burned to ashes, Hansel said. Gretel filled a basket filled with food, and Hansel took the casket filled with gold coins. As they were more lucky when they wanted to go home the second time, because on the second day they had seen their father come out of the cottage weeping. Oh, your stepmother is dead. Now come back to me, my dear children, he said. The two children ran to hug their father. Promise you'll never ever desert us again, Gretel said as she put her arms on her father's neck. Hansel showed his father the chest. Look, father, we're rich now. You'll never have to chop wood again, he said cheerfully. All three of them went back to their cottage and lived happily ever after. Thank you, judges, and thank you, friends, for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it.